I need to tell you something. It's a confession, a warning, and a plea, all rolled into one. And I know, right from the start, that it's going to sound like the ramblings of a paranoid mind. It's the kind of thing that will make you feel a deep, unsettling discomfort, a primal urge to click away, to stop listening and retreat to the familiar comfort of your endless scroll. But I am asking you, even begging you, to grant me just a few minutes of your undivided attention. Hear me out. Because what I am about to reveal isn't some fringe conspiracy theory whispered in the dark corners of the internet. It is an engineered reality, a meticulously designed system, and it is actively shaping your life, your thoughts, and your very soul in this exact moment, whether you are aware of it or not. The conversation always starts in the same place. People worry that their phone is listening to their conversations to serve them ads. You talk about a vacation to Hawaii with your spouse over dinner, and suddenly your social media feed is a cascade of beachfront resorts and airline deals. It's a creepy, invasive thought, and it's what everyone focuses on. But that's a distraction. It's a clever piece of misdirection that keeps you looking at the magician's left hand while the real trick is happening in his right. The real threat, the one that should keep you up at night, is so much more profound, so much more insidious, that the idea of them simply listening to your words would almost be a comfort. Because if they were merely listening, you would still be the one in control of your own thoughts. You would still be the author of your own desires. But they aren't listening. They are reprogramming you. And you are not only letting them, you are paying for the privilege. If you are brave enough to confront this truth, to look into the abyss of our modern condition, I want you to drop a comment right now and just say, "I'm listening." This journey isn't for the faint of heart. It is for those who are ready to see the architecture of their own cage. 3 weeks ago, my life was neatly compartmentalized. I was a tech executive, a builder, a believer in the power of technology to connect and empower humanity. I was sitting in a sterile, glass-walled conference room in our Silicon Valley headquarters discussing the future of our neural interface division with the head of our artificial intelligence development, a brilliant man named Dr. Evan Reed. We were exploring the bleeding edge of science, talking about how to seamlessly connect the human brain directly to computers. I was excited, energized by the possibilities. And then Evan said something that stopped the world from spinning. He leaned back in his chair, a wry, almost weary smile on his face, and said, "You know, we're already doing this, right? We've been doing it for over a decade. Every smartphone is just a primitive neural interface. We simply found it was more scalable to convince people to hold it in their hands instead of surgically implanting it in their skulls." I laughed. It had to be a joke, a dark, cynical quip from an engineer who'd spent too long staring at code. But he wasn't smiling anymore. His eyes were deadly serious. With a few clicks on his laptop, he projected a series of charts and graphs onto the massive screen that dominated the room. This wasn't theoretical data. These were real-time brain scans, longitudinal behavioral studies, and mountains of psychological research papers that the titans of Silicon Valley had been quietly commissioning and hoarding for years. And what I saw in that data made me feel physically ill. A cold dread washed over me, the kind you feel when you realize you've been living a lie. Your phone is not a tool you use. It is a device that is using you. Every single element of your digital experience, every vibrant red notification badge, every algorithmically curated feed, every infinite scroll that promises a new discovery just a thumb flick away, has been designed with a singular overarching purpose: to hijack your brain's most primitive reward system and systematically reprogram your behavior without your conscious consent. This isn't some unfortunate side effect of a benign technology. It isn't an accident. It is the fundamental business model of the entire digital economy. You are not the customer of these giant tech companies. Your attention is the product they sell to advertisers. But it goes even deeper than that. You are the subject in the largest, most uncontrolled psychological experiment in human history. And the experiment is succeeding beyond its creator's wildest dreams. Have you ever felt that subtle but persistent pull of your device, even when you know there's nothing important waiting for you? Share your experience in the comments below. I think many of us have felt that exact same phantom limb. Let me break down exactly what they are doing to your brain. Every time your phone buzzes or pings with a notification, your brain releases a small surge of dopamine. This is the pleasure chemical, the neurotransmitter of reward and motivation. It's the same chemical that is released when you eat a delicious meal, win a bet, or, more darkly, when a person uses cocaine or gambles at a slot machine. The architects of your digital world have become masters at manipulating this neural pathway. They have engineered your phone to deliver these dopamine hits in the most addictive pattern known to science, a concept known as variable reward scheduling. This is the very same principle that makes slot machines in Las Vegas so utterly captivating. If you knew you would win every 10th time you pulled the lever, you'd get bored. The predictability would kill the excitement. But because you never know when the next reward is coming, you are compelled to keep pulling. Maybe this pull will be the jackpot. Maybe this notification is an important email from your boss. Maybe this scroll will reveal a video that makes you laugh, or a piece of news that enrages you, or a photo from a friend that makes you feel connected. It is the crushing uncertainty, the constant maybe, that forges the chains of addiction. And they know this. Every major tech company on the planet employs armies of psychologists, neuroscientists, and behavioral specialists whose entire job is to make their products as addictive as humanly possible. They call it user engagement, or optimizing for time on platform in their internal documents, but let's call it what it really is: the systematic exploitation of known vulnerabilities in the human psyche to create a state of perpetual dependency. The statistics are staggering. A study from the research firm D-Scout revealed that the average American touches, taps, or swipes their phone over 2,600 times a day, and heavy users can easily double that. We check our devices on average once every 10 minutes that we are awake. But here is the part that truly terrifies me, the part that I saw validated in the cold, hard data Evan showed me. That incessant checking is no longer a conscious choice. It is a neurological compulsion. Your brain has been meticulously trained, conditioned like one of Pavlov's dogs, to crave and anticipate those dopamine hits. It has learned to associate the phone with relief from the slightest hint of boredom or anxiety. This dependency is the foundation upon which the entire manipulation architecture is built. If this explanation of the science behind our screens was helpful, please hit that like button. It helps the algorithm, ironically, show this video to more people who need to hear it. But addiction, as devastating as it is only the first layer of this digital prison. What they are doing goes so much deeper, burrowing into the very core of your identity. Every single interaction you have with your device is a training session for your brain. Every time you surrender to the infinite scroll, you are teaching your attention span to become shorter and more fragmented. Every notification you reflexively check is training you to be constantly reactive to external stimuli, rather than proactively engaging with your own thoughts and goals. Every algorithmically curated feed you consume is subtly teaching you what to think, what to desire, what to believe, and even who to be. You believe you are in the driver's seat. You think you are choosing what videos to watch on YouTube, what articles to read on your newsfeed, what products to buy on Amazon. You are not. The algorithm is choosing for you. It isn't selecting content based on what will make you a more informed, happy, or well-rounded person. It is selecting content based on a single, ruthless metric: what will keep you engaged for the longest possible time. And engaged, in the lexicon of Silicon Valley, does not mean fulfilled or enlightened. It means unable to look away. Last week, I had a quiet dinner in a dimly lit restaurant in San Francisco with a man named David, a former high-level executive at Facebook. He's a ghost now, professionally speaking, having cashed out and disappeared from the public eye. He told me with a profound sense of guilt in his voice that he doesn't let his own children use social media. None of the top-tier tech executives do. Steve Jobs famously didn't let his own kids use the iPad he so brilliantly marketed to the world. The people who built these systems, the master architects of this digital world, know precisely how dangerous their creations are. They have constructed glittering, alluring digital prisons and are actively keeping their own families safely outside the walls, while the rest of the world walks in voluntarily, convinced they've found a playground. David leaned in close, his voice dropping to a near whisper, and told me something that made my blood run cold. "We tested everything," he said. "Every shade of blue for the link colors, every sound the app makes, every microsecond of delay in loading a new post. We ran hundreds, thousands of A/B tests on millions of users without their knowledge to find the exact combination of psychological triggers that would make people neurologically unable to stop scrolling. And when we found that perfect formula, that digital siren song, we deployed it to billions of people simultaneously. We had, in effect, created the largest and most successful behavior modification experiment in the history of the human species. And it worked better than any of us could have ever imagined. Let's talk about what this mass-scale behavior modification is actively doing to you, to me, to all of us. First, your attention span is being systematically dismantled. Scientific studies have shown that the average human attention span has plummeted from 12 seconds in the year 2000 to just 8 seconds today. You now, quite literally, have a shorter attention span than a goldfish, which clocks in at around 9 seconds. This isn't because you are lazy or weak-willed. It is the direct, predictable result of your brain being systematically rewired to crave and expect constant novel stimulation. You can no longer sit down to read a book for an hour without feeling the phantom itch to check your phone. You can't sit in silence with your own thoughts without an overwhelming urge to fill the void with the noise of a podcast or the endless stream of a feed. You can't even be fully present with the people you love, your partner, your children, your friends, because a part of your brain is always wondering what's happening in the digital realm. Have you noticed this change in yourself or the people around you? I'd be fascinated to read your observations in the comments. And it's getting worse, exponentially so. Our children are growing up with this as their baseline reality. They are being programmed from birth to require constant digital pacification. Their developing brains are being wired in a fundamentally different way than any previous generation in human history. And we have absolutely no idea what the long-term neurological and societal consequences will be. But the destruction of attention is just the opening act. The main event is the manipulation of your behavior and emotions on a planetary scale. Every single piece of content that flashes before your eyes has been chosen by an algorithm designed to trigger a specific emotional response. And the data scientists who build these systems have discovered a dark truth about human nature. Negative emotions are far more engaging than positive ones. Anger keeps you scrolling longer than happiness. Fear keeps you glued to the screen longer than a sense of calm. Outrage generates more clicks, comments, and shares than agreement and nuance. And so, that is what the algorithm feeds you. It curates a reality for you that is filled with things that make you angry, things that make you afraid, and things that make you feel outraged. It does this not because that content is true, or important, or good for your soul, but because it is effective at keeping you hooked. This is the most terrifying part. This constant diet of algorithmically selected outrage is fundamentally changing how you perceive the world. You are being trained to see reality as more dangerous, more divided, and more hopeless than it actually is, because that distorted perception keeps you engaged. It keeps you coming back for your next hit of fear or anger. You believe you are forming your own opinions about politics, culture, and society. For the most part, you are not. You are being shown a carefully curated sliver of information, an echo chamber designed to push you toward predetermined conclusions. The process is so subtle, so gradual, so masterfully executed that you don't even notice it's happening. You feel like you're in control, but you're really just following a breadcrumb trail that was laid out for you. Subscribing to this channel will ensure you get more content designed to help you see these hidden trails and reclaim your path. I recently spoke with a data scientist, a young woman who quit her job at a major tech firm because she could no longer stomach the ethical implications of her work. She told me, "We could predict with over 80% accuracy what a user would think about a contentious political issue before they had even seen any content about it. Not because we could read their minds, but because we controlled the flow of information they saw. We were shaping their reality, and they never knew it was happening. It was social engineering on a scale that would make Cold War propagandists weep with envy. This is a system that now touches billions of people, all receiving a personalized stream of propaganda designed to influence their behavior, their beliefs, and their purchasing decisions. And it is so diabolically effective that people will passionately defend the very system that manipulates them. They will argue that they are not being influenced, even as they are being manipulated into making that very argument. Let me tell you what happens inside your brain on a physiological level when you engage with social media for just 30 minutes. Your cortisol levels, the primary stress hormone in your body, begin to spike. You are literally being put into a state of chronic, low-grade fight or flight. Simultaneously, activity in your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational decision-making, long-term planning, and impulse control, measurably decreases. At the same time, activity in your amygdala, the brain's ancient fear and emotional response center, increases. To put it simply, these platforms are scientifically designed to make you more stressed, less rational, and more emotionally volatile. That is not a bug in the system, it is the core feature. Because a population of stressed, irrational, and emotional people is far easier to manipulate, far easier to sell things to, and far easier to keep endlessly, addictively engaged. The more you use these platforms, the more these neurological effects become entrenched. Your brain is literally being rewired. Neural pathways are being strengthened, while others atrophy from disuse. Your baseline emotional state is being shifted toward anxiety and agitation. You are becoming a different person, not through conscious choice and self-development, but through passive exposure to engineered stimuli designed to change you from the outside in. The internal research documents I saw confirmed my worst fears. The tech companies know exactly what their products are doing to the mental health of the global population. They have the data. They know their platforms measurably increase anxiety, depression, loneliness, and self-hatred. They know that teenage girls who are heavy users of Instagram are significantly more likely to suffer from body image issues and suicidal thoughts. They know their algorithms are radicalizing people, pushing them into extremist echo chambers and obliterating the very concepts of nuance and empathy. And they do not care, because fixing these profound social harms would decrease user engagement, and decreased engagement means decreased profits. So they continue. They keep optimizing for addiction and manipulation while publicly releasing statements that effectively blame you, saying it's your responsibility if you can't handle it. Here is what keeps me awake at night. We are only at the very beginning of this new era. The artificial intelligence that powers these algorithms is growing more powerful at an exponential rate. The ability to predict and manipulate human behavior is going to become exponentially more sophisticated in the coming years. We are already at a point where the majority of people cannot resist the pull of their devices. What happens when an AI can predict your behavior better than you can yourself? What happens when it can subtly manipulate you into doing things you would never consciously choose to do? What happens when the line between your own authentic thoughts and the thoughts that have been programmed into you disappears completely? We are not far from that reality. We are perhaps 5 years away from AI that can craft personalized content, videos, articles, sounds, messages, so perfectly calibrated to your unique psychological profile that resisting it will be, for all intents and purposes, impossible. Imagine content that knows the exact images, words, sounds, and timing that will trigger the precise emotional response it desires. Imagine a technology that can shift your political opinions, your consumer preferences, your entire worldview without you ever having the slightest inkling that you have been influenced. The people building this technology aren't necessarily evil villains from a spy movie. They are mostly bright, well-intentioned engineers who are simply optimizing for engagement. They are following the financial incentives laid out for them. They are building what the market rewards. But the end result is the same, a technology that is fundamentally incompatible with human agency and free will. I realize this sounds extreme. I know a part of your brain is fighting back right now, thinking, it's not that bad, I'm in control, I can stop whenever I want. That is what every addict tells themselves. That is precisely what the programming wants you to think. So let me ask you a few honest questions. When was the last time you went a full 24 hours without checking your phone? When was the last time you sat quietly with your own thoughts for even 1 hour without any distraction? When was the last time you were fully, completely present with someone you love, without a part of your attention being pulled toward the glowing rectangle in your pocket? If you can't remember, or if the very thought of doing these things fills you with a sense of anxiety and dread, then you are not in control. You have been programmed. And the longer you remain in denial, the deeper the roots of that programming will grow. Before I tell you what we need to do, I need to tell you why this became so personal for me, why I'm risking my career to say this. 2 months ago, I was sitting at the dinner table with my family. My youngest son, Liam, who is only 8 years old, asked me a question that shattered my world. He looked up from his plate, his eyes filled with a sad, simple honesty that only a child possesses, and said, "Dad, why do you love your phone more than me?" I immediately went on the defensive. I told him that was a ridiculous thing to say, that of course I loved him more than some silly device. But he didn't flinch. He just looked at me, his gaze cutting right through my denial, and said, "Then why do you look at it more than you look at me?" He was right. I was physically present at the dinner table with my child, but I was mentally absent. I was choosing a glowing screen over my son's face, and I hadn't even realized I was making that choice until he held up a mirror to my behavior. That was my wake-up call. Because in that moment, I realized that if I, someone with insider knowledge, resources, and a deep understanding of these systems, couldn't maintain control over my own attention, what chance does anyone else have? This isn't a battle of individual willpower. You're not failing at resisting your phone. Your phone is succeeding at capturing you. And it will keep succeeding until you recognize that you are in a fight for your own mind, a fight for your presence with the people you love, a fight for your ability to think your own thoughts. My son's question woke me up. I'm asking you now, what will it take to wake you up? How much of your precious, unrepeatable life will you scroll away before you decide to take it back? Here is what I am doing and what I am imploring you to do. At my companies, I am implementing new, non-negotiable rules. We are banning infinite scroll. We are eliminating all forms of variable reward scheduling. We will not use emotional manipulation to drive engagement. We are going to build technology that respects human psychology instead of exploiting it. It will almost certainly make us less money. I no longer care. Some things are more important than profit. I am also funding independent, transparent research into the long-term neurological effects of this digital manipulation, especially on the developing brains of children. We need real answers, not the sanitized studies that tech companies fund to get the results they want. And I am advocating for real government regulation, the kind that forces these companies to prioritize user well-being over engagement metrics, the kind that treats addictive design with the same seriousness we treat other addictive products, and the kind that holds these corporations accountable for the societal harm their algorithms cause. But most importantly, I am asking you to wake up, to see what is being done to you, to take back control of your own mind. You can start right now. First, make the decision to delete the social media apps from your phone. Not tomorrow, not next week. Do it today, as soon as this is over. You can keep the accounts and check them on a computer if you must, where the added friction makes the experience less addictive. But get the primary delivery mechanism for this poison out of your pocket. Second, go into your settings and turn off all notifications except for those from actual human beings trying to reach you via phone calls or text messages. No app should have the right to interrupt your life and demand your attention whenever it wants. You decide when you engage with technology, not the other way around. Third, you must create sacred, phone-free zones and times in your life. The dinner table is an excellent place to start. The bedroom is another. No phones should be present during conversations with loved ones. Begin to treat your phone use like smoking, something you do intentionally at designated times and in designated places, not a constant activity that permeates every single moment of your existence. Fourth, and this is crucial, you must learn to notice the urges. When you feel that powerful, irrational compulsion to check your phone, just pause for a moment. Don't act on it. Sit with the feeling of discomfort. Acknowledge that it is an artificially created craving, not a genuine need. The urge will crest like a wave and then subside. Every time you successfully resist it, you are retraining your brain. You are taking back a small piece of your freedom. What is the first step you are willing to take? Comment below and make a commitment. Delete notifications or phone-free zones. Let's hold each other accountable. Finally, you must talk about this. The invisibility of this manipulation is its greatest strength. Make it visible. Tell your friends, your family, your colleagues what is being done to them. Share this message. Break the silent, unspoken agreement that allows this mass-scale reprogramming to continue unchecked. I know this is hard. I know that right now your programmed brain is screaming at you to dismiss all of this, to rationalize your behavior, to defend your phone use. That is the programming's defense mechanism installed to protect itself from deletion. But you are stronger than the code. You are capable of seeing the truth and choosing a different path. You are capable of reclaiming your attention, your behavior, and your thoughts. You are capable of being free. Last night, for the first time in over a decade, I turned my phone off completely for a full 24 hours. And you know what happened? Nothing. The world didn't end. There were no emergencies that couldn't wait. But something else happened that I didn't expect. I remembered what my own mind feels like. The quiet, organic thoughts that arise from within instead of in reaction to a stimulus. The deep presence that is possible when you are not being constantly interrupted. The profound sense of peace that comes from not being perpetually manipulated by machines designed to keep you anxious and engaged. That is what they have stolen from you. Not just your data, not just your privacy, but your own mind. Your ability to think clearly, to focus deeply, to be present fully. Your agency, your freedom. And you can take it back, but only if you are willing to see what has been done. Only if you are willing to admit you have been programmed, and only if you are willing to do the hard work of deprogramming yourself. The choice is yours, but I urge you to make it now, because with every moment you delay, the programming gets deeper, until eventually you may not be able to choose at all. Wake up. Take back your mind. Be free.